Hey, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's a really great pleasure and a great honor to have James Bauly join us this morning from Hologram. This is our first Brighter Living in DSM APAC. That's the title we have chosen for probably a series of fireside chats. Nice. With different people from around the world. And please give us some thumbs up at the end. It's like a YouTube video. You have to like it to get more of it. And so don't hesitate to give feedback as well. I'm very, very happy that we could get James to come over and stop on your way to Australia, I think.
Yes.
Today, because you're based between Europe and the US. It's very rare to have you. So James Bauly is the Chief Development Officer of Hologram Sciences. And maybe, James, you just want to introduce yourself for the audience.
Sure. So hello, everybody. It's great to be back here in Asia Pacific, a region very close to my heart. And I know many of you, but in case you haven't met me, my name is James Bauly. I've been with DSM for 20 years in various positions, mainly around marketing and innovation. And since now, I'm just thinking back, since November last year, I joined Hologram Sciences, responsible for business development on the personalized nutrition side, and we'll be talking a lot about that as we go forward. So.
Great, thank you very much. And we need to have lots of your questions because James has just flown into Singapore this morning, so he's a bit tired. Right. And to keep him entertained and going, we need to have an interactive session. So I'm also very happy that we have a live audience this morning. Yes. And I really hope that in coming fireside chats, more of you will join and want to be here. And we just discussed before we went live that we're probably going to give some incentives, some little gifts to the audience next time we have some. So, you know, James, the overall health and nutrition trends, they clearly go towards more precision, more customized. Especially when it comes to preventative. And I think the days of every one of us taking just a multivitamin in the morning, you know, they're in a way numbered. Yes. But then on the other hand, for most of us, it's still quite difficult to understand what is personalized nutrition, what is precision nutrition, is there a difference? What is Hologram Sciences? So maybe you can talk a little bit about this.
Sure, with pleasure. So. Yeah, look, I think the trends definitely, as you say, are there. I think as a population, as individuals, we're getting to know ourselves better and better. I often do a straw poll, you know, how many people in the room have some kind of smart device or some kind of tracking, Fitbit, Apple Watch, right? So definitely the trends are going in that direction. And more we talk about how can we harness some of these emerging technologies and help people track their own health and nutrition and really look after their health and wellness in a more personalized way, right? And so we'll talk a little bit about exactly what does that mean in terms of personalized nutrition. Hologram Sciences is DSM's dedicated startup company. So basically a health tech startup based in Boston, right? And is fully focused on designing and incubating personalized nutrition concepts and products. And we'll talk more about that as well. And it's something that DSM, very ambitious in this space, set up almost a year ago to the day. And then your other question was?
And what is, I'll go back to my other question, but what is the size of our investment? Because I think it's quite significant, and I think it's worth telling everybody
exactly. So
commitment.
So DSM really drew a line in the sand with this and said, look, okay, we're going to invest heavily in this. And we basically, as a company, have committed between $100 and $150 million over 5 years, right? That includes some operating capital, but also money for innovation and potentially some collaborations, mergers and acquisitions. So it's a very meaningful investment. You asked me, that was right, you asked me about the difference between precision and personalization.
I was going to get there.
We talk a lot about that. And so precision and personalization are both kind of core focus areas in DSM's corporate strategy. When we talk about precision nutrition, that's a lot to do with the technology of measuring and harnessing the science, particularly in the space of animal nutrition, okay, which is very founded on data. Everything is very measurable and outcomes are very measurable. So we use precision nutrition more towards that, and personalized nutrition is then taking that data approach, but in the space of human nutrition and health, right? So for normal consumers like you and me, we talk about personalized nutrition.
Yeah. So, and you know, what's also great is that in the DSM strategy with the three business groups, there is in the middle this triangle where there's precision and personalized nutrition, then there's the localization of solutions, and then the segment approach and the global portfolio. So I think what's also fantastic in having you here is you actually one of the three absolutely essential components of how we as DSM see our approach to the market and our unique offering. So very, very critical. So I think as a summary, when we talk about precision, more on the animal. When we talk about personalization, more on the human.
Yep, that's fair.
And so then I wanted to ask you, for you, you know, when you look at personalizing, you know, what does it exactly mean? You know, do I have to test myself every minute of the day? You know, do I wear now 3 devices? And how does it actually, how do I represent this to myself? How complex or simple is it?
Sure. So when we talk about personalization and personalized nutrition, it's very much a spectrum, right? In its most simple form, personalization can be receiving advice from somebody on what type of nutritional product to take or what kind of lifestyle changes to make, right? So that's the very simple. It could be as simple as a questionnaire that you can complete, a health and wellness questionnaire or a food frequency questionnaire, and that then gives you some advice towards your nutrition. But it can also become more sophisticated than that, and so we often talk about what we call sort of at Hologram, we often talk about the 3 Ds. Right. So the first of those.
So what's that?
The first D is for diagnostic, and that basically means some kind of tracking or evaluation. Could be your Apple Watch, could be a saliva test, could be
a nasal swab.
Could be a nasal swab, and we're all
used to that now.
Doing that now. So there's some kind of assessment of your nutritional status and your health, right? That's the diagnostic part. Then there's the second D is digital, right? And there we talk about a digital platform that helps take your data and analyzes it and then gives you recommendations, right? So that's a digital plot. And that very often, and in the case of our products, we'll see later, that could be an app, for example, right? And you can also potentially include contacting coaches through the digital platform. So nutrition coaches. The third D is then the delivery of the nutritional solution. Now that could be it could be a normal supplement, but it can also be a customized supplement that's really tailored to your profile. Okay, and so those are the 3 Ds, and we always.
And for you, sorry, just the D, the delivery. Does it need to be physical? So, or can it also be a coaching session, meditation, or how do you see that as part of personal nutrition?
So it can be both. It can include both of those. So, of course, from a DSM perspective, we're very focused also on delivering a nutritional product or nutritional ingredients, but that is then combined with the recommendations, the coaching, very specific advice. Like you say, yoga or cognitive behavioral therapy is a really big topic right now. So that would all come under the delivery.
And so when you at Hologram create new solutions, how does it come about? Can you tell us a little bit? You know, Chief Development Officer, what does it mean? Do you relax in a chair and drink a glass of red wine and go, oh, I have an idea? Or how does it work?
So glasses of red wine do play a role.
They do play a role. They have lots of antioxidants.
Exactly. No, so when we set out with Hologram Sciences, one of the first things we did was we sort of asked ourselves as a team, the starting point is what health and wellness benefits do we want to address? What do we want to target, right? And we did a big, a big exercise on where are also those opportunities? And we did a market analysis, trends analysis, to understand what are the concepts that we're going to focus on.
Okay.
And an easy example was, this was a year ago at the height of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we decided to focus on immunity.
Yeah.
Right. That was our first concept. And then after that, we have a roadmap which includes women's health. We'll talk about sports nutrition, sports performance. We'll talk about healthy aging, and then likely medical nutrition. So we have already planned in our minds a roadmap. The first concept is already out there, right? That's the immunity. Women's health, focusing on menopause, will launch next week, in fact.
Yeah.
And then after that comes sports performance, and then healthy aging.
Yeah. So diagnostic, digital, and delivery.
Yeah.
And these three are kind of the must-have, right?
They are the must-have.
Yes. That's really what the core tenets, the Bible of Hologram is, right? So you're not just going to go in and say, well, I make an app, and you know, at the end you can buy a product that would be kind of Amazon or Shopee that we have here. No, there needs to be a diagnostic.
Correct.
And what you said before about diagnostic is that it can also be a questionnaire. But I wanted to ask you, you know, in the personalized nutrition industry, if we can call it that way, you know, there's been lots of talk over the years of, unless it's going to be easy to measure and just like a watch, you know, it's not going to happen, right? So, and we know that there are companies out there that do blood tests and then do DNA tests. And I've always been told, you know, if I have to have a drop of blood, it's not going to work. So I just wanted to ask you what you think of this, because obviously once you start measuring blood, like another personalized nutrition company, Inside Tracker, always says, blood never lies.
Correct.
But so what's your view on this? How invasive can it be? Is invasive good or bad? What do you think?
Sure. So this is this is always a really critical conversation, right? And I think a lot has changed with COVID, actually, right? So if we were having this conversation pre-COVID, I would have said, indeed, you know, a finger prick or a saliva test, just forget it. But actually, one of the things that COVID has taught everybody is that people feel more and more comfortable with testing themselves, right? So in many ways, that has a little bit opened the door to making it a bit more accessible for people in their minds to take these kinds of tests. So blood remains the gold standard. So if you were doing a scientific validation, you would use blood tests. And what we've seen with our own concept is consumers, at least in the US, are quite well accepting doing a finger prick blood test at home. Right, we've done them here in Singapore as well, and generally consumers accept that quite well. Right, I won't lie, it is still a little bit of a barrier. Right, so not everybody is going to feel comfortable doing this. The good news is that other technologies are now coming forward, particularly around saliva, and we've just negotiated a partnership with a company that measures saliva, and there are many markers that you can track through saliva, and that's really easy. You literally just use a little stick here. So I think short answer is it's getting more and more accessible and more accepted. Yeah,
and I really think that in this, you know, this is one of the silver lining of COVID. Exactly. You know, I now have friends who, even for example, in Singapore, we no longer have to do any ART tests, either pre-departure or to arrive back. I was traveling last weekend to Bangkok with some friends, and they all travel with their ART kits, and they actually did test on themselves just so that they know. Exactly. So I think people are getting used to, I want to know for myself. I want to understand myself more. So that's good. So maybe we can jump to an example, right? Sure. You brought us some products. I think it's from the Develop.
Yep, that's right.
So maybe you can talk us through, you know, the diagnostic, digital, and delivery around the products that you have. So I'm not sure on the camera whether this is very visible to see. It has a really fancy design, and it's called Develop. So I suppose this is vitamin D3.
Correct. Well, not quite. We'll get into that. Yeah.
So what is this about, and how does this work?
So first thing to say about Develop, the concept is that it's focusing. We chose to focus on immunity, And one of the critical factors in immunity is your vitamin D levels, right? And especially through COVID, we also learned, or the scientific community showed us, that high vitamin D is correlated with better resistance, so to speak, to COVID, and also better results with vaccination, right? So we were very keen to put together an immunity concept that focused on vitamin D, and we called that concept Develop. Now, the 3 Ds for Develop are, number one, a finger prick test. Okay, so this is an online concept. When you sign up, you have the opportunity to receive a test kit at home, right? So you take a test, and within a week, so you take the test, you send it off, and in a week you receive your personal vitamin D levels through an app, right? So the app is the digital part. So the app will tell you, Francois, your vitamin D, for example, is suboptimal. Okay. If that's the case, the app will also tell you, here's a vitamin D supplement that you can take that will rapidly increase your level. Okay. And you would then subscribe to one of the supplement products. Now, what's important and what's a differentiator for this concept is that the products are based on a more effective form of vitamin D, right? So it's not standard vitamin D3. It's a product called calcifediol, which is actually DSM's Ampli-D product. It's a highly potent form of vitamin D. And so
I think James, what if I may add, what it does, it bypasses one step of transformation in the body, which means that whether you're responder or non-responder and are able to process vitamin D3, you're able with Ampli-D to get the level for everyone very fast. And this efficiency of getting to the level is super critical for immunity.
Exactly. So Ampli-D is the biological form of vitamin D in the body, and that's what you're taking directly, right? So you take that, and then you take your second test, right? And when you take your second test, you'll be able to see that your blood levels have increased. And what we've seen with consumers using this concept is that within 2 weeks, you can get a significant increase in your vitamin D levels in your blood, right? That also gives you the opportunity to talk directly to a professional nutritional coach who can also help you, give you advice for your immunity around sleep, stress management, exercise, and general diet. And all of these are very important.
So this is all included in that app.
Okay. So it's really a health and lifestyle app that gives you advice.
And so what you pay for is the test and the intervention, the supplement. You don't pay for the coaching, or
no? So the way that it works is that typically we invite people to subscribe to the concept, and if you choose to subscribe to the supplement range, you receive 2 test kits free of charge. So that's bundled together, right? So the subscribers receive the supplements and the test kit, and then they can download the app for free. And the coaching access is also free of charge.
And the subscription is how long?
The subscription is for 3 months.
3 months.
And so far, what we've seen is most people continue with the subscription after 3 months.
So that's really great. So you subscribe for 3 months, and then you get 2 test kits. And access to the app. So that also gives me sort of a good feeling. If something's happening, I'm not sure where this is going, I can always reach someone and get a little bit of feedback on, and I think the other thing is, D3 is one of these things you can really not have a feeling for where you are as an individual. It's really something you have to measure, right? It's not just like my gut health is a bit off. This maybe you can notice, but D3 you can't, right?
I think it's also worth pointing out the big advantage of taking the test is that it can also tell you, in fact, if your vitamin D levels are already high enough. And in some very rare cases, we're finding people come in with vitamin D levels that are above optimal. And when that happens, the coach through the app will give you the advice. There's no need to immediately take the supplements. let's track your levels first,
Okay.
or maybe take a supplement every other day instead of every
you
day.
reimburse me for buying supplements I don't need?
No, because you will need them. So two things, you will need them eventually. So it's about you also have to maintain your levels. And there is actually a money back. There is a money back
guarantee
on there as well.
Okay.
People
Great.
using it.
So that's the example of Develop. I think it's one of the first ones that Hologram launched.
Yeah, it's the first.
And what I wanted to say is also, please, if you have questions, send us your questions. While we're talking, I can read the ones on the screen here, and I'll pass them on to James before we move on to other areas. What I just wanted to ask on this is, so this is one concept, and you then get some feedback also from your consumers.
Yep.
So, in the digital transformation that we're experiencing, we all now use that, Google knows how many people are going from Orchard down to Marina Bay Sands.
Right.
They can tell us, don't take that ride, go via the East Coast so that you don't get in traffic jam. So are you also able, in an anonymized way, to have a feel for, where is the level of immunity of your consumers?
Yes, we are. So if we take the vitamin D testing as an example, I think we've done around 5,000 tests so far.
Okay.
Yeah. 49% of people tested have suboptimal levels of vitamin D. I think 1% had sort of above optimal, and then the rest were in range, right? So we can track that extremely clearly. It becomes a really interesting and powerful data set. It's slightly better than the average population, but it also means that there's almost half of the people that are tested are too low.
Yeah.
Right. And of those, we know that within 2 weeks of testing, all of them, or 98% of them, have increased their vitamin D level.
Yeah.
So we have the data really to back it up.
So it's like a little, I'm not sure I should use this word, but it's a little bit like a clinical study going on live, right?
Yeah.
It's probably not the right word, but
it's an in-market data set.
In-market.
Yeah.
Okay. In-market data set.
Yeah.
In-market data set. Yeah. Great. So let me see. We have a few questions. So from Advait, is there any, Advait, welcome, Advait's in Bangkok. Is there any development around diagnostic, affordable and non-invasive? Just using the example of vitamin D3. So basically, and then his other question is, where is it available? Which is what I was going to ask you next as well. So maybe you can talk a little bit about.
Yeah. So Advait, at the moment for vitamin D3, it is still a requirement to have at least a finger prick, right? The test is quite affordable, and over time will become more affordable. We're talking maybe cost-wise, maybe $20. There is work going on, including with Hologram, to move vitamin D into saliva testing. Right? That's the saliva testing for vitamin D would be the holy grail.
Yeah.
We're not there yet, but I think we have a strong chance probably in the coming year or so to get there. So that will happen. These diagnostics are becoming more and more democratized.
Yeah.
So over time, expect the invasiveness to come down and the cost to come down as well.
And availability. We have 110 attendees here from all across Asia. So maybe you want to put in the chat as well where you're based, so we have a little bit of an idea. Are you more in India? Are you more in Japan or Korea? So where is it available?
So
don't disappoint us. Come on, you can do it.
So at the moment, it's available in North America, and actually, just 2 days ago, I had a conversation with our head engineer responsible for the software, and we're talking about switching it on for other markets.
Okay.
Probably first will be Australia, because that's where AmpliD is already approved, right?
Yeah.
But definitely the plan is to roll it out into more and more markets, right? And we will start to make it available in Asia Pacific as well.
Great.
Sorry, Francois. And
I think the problem is also the test, right?
yeah, so there's
So you have to.
So there's the test. There's the is the ingredient approved or not? I think what we can explore potentially is making the supplements available in Asia Pacific, at least for DSM employees. So
Yeah.
we start to look at that as well.
Yeah, I think it's always a problem of regulation and registration.
Exactly.
So Ampli-D is registered in Singapore, in Philippines, in Australia, a number of other markets. Malaysia, thank you. Hui Sheng is there in the room advising me. But then the test is more difficult for it to cross borders because it's certain countries will consider it under their own FDA regulation as a medical device. So you have to be a bit careful. I know because I tried to buy some of these tests from the US and sometimes Amazon just won't send them. But so this is certainly something that we can look at in the future. So let's move on a little bit. And what is next? So I was about a month or two ago privy to a presentation on phenology.
Yes.
And I thought it was absolutely brilliant because this is an even much broader way of looking at something that is not really often taken holistically, and I was even going to say seriously.
Yeah, correct.
And this is really where Hologram is going. And you said it's launching on Monday.
Yes, correct.
So tell us about phenology, and maybe you even have some slides. I don't know.
Sure. So super excited to talk about phenology. I think we may have one slide on that. Let's have a look.
Yeah, they'll
find it. Okay.
And
so we were very adamant that we wanted our second concept to be in the realm of women's health, and we looked at what part of women's health would be suitable for our second concept, and we did quite a bit of consumer research as well. And one thing that women were talking about needing more support on was actually menopause. Right. So traditionally in women's health, you talk about maternal nutrition or pregnancy. But menopause, it turns out, was really an underserved part of women's health. And we found that there are a lot of women out there that felt that they were not getting the support that they require for menopause. It tended to be a bit binary. You go to the doctor, and the doctor quite often, unfortunately, says, "Well, either you can have HRT, or you just have to deal with it." It's really badly. Frankly, badly represented.
Badly handled,
and so we really felt quite passionate that this was a genuine unmet need. And so the way we went about it is we had our science team together with the DSM science team really look about what kind of options could we potentially offer. And that then led to the phenology concept. And again, it's the 3Ds. So there is a diagnostic and tracking. There is a whole basket of products and remedies, which we can talk about, and then a really nice digital platform where you can get a lot of advice and content. I really like, maybe you can talk about this a little bit, is the basket of products. Because I think it's very nicely put together to look after. I mean, I'm not a woman as far as I know, but I really like this idea of I have something in the morning, something in the evening, something that's more wellness, something that's more health. So maybe you can talk about these products a little bit, because I think this is really the first. For me, it was I've looked at lots of startups. I was telling you before when you came into the office on the West Coast and on the East Coast. I've never seen a concept that's really putting these things together. Exactly right.
So can you talk a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So this is really exciting opportunity to look at really quite a broad range of products, right? So we have a set of products, actually gummies, which really focus on the physical symptoms of menopause, right? So we combine actually another DSM ingredient, Genivida, which is making a reappearance, which has some very strong data for helping with hot flashes. We combine that with saffron extract, and saffron has some great data on relaxation. One of the key findings from our consumer research was that women were very anxious about the symptoms of menopause. So we combine these two ingredients. These are the hero ingredients to tackle the hot flashes and the anxiety, that's through a gummy that you take in the morning. And then in the evening, you take another version of that gummy, which includes some other relaxation ingredients, right? Including actually CBD, which in the US and parts of Europe is becoming really well known, again, for relaxation and combating anxiety.
This is also a really nice way of getting these ingredients that we talk about at DSM and that we are in the middle of launching actually in the spotlight, in a way that really shows how they can be brought to life.
Exactly.
Right? Because then the other thing that you do is you link this up with a, for my liking, a really nicely designed app.
Yep.
Really a different take on even the color scheme is really nice, with this intense forest green. I really like. And then in the app, tell us what's in the app.
Sure.
Because there's lots of things there as well.
Okay, so just quickly, just finish.
You want to talk about the last product?
Just giving another example of a product. So we talked about the supplements, a gummy. There's also some personal care products, right, to give fast relief. So a cooling mist, a cooling roller, some facial creams. So then like to your earlier point, we have a real basket of products, right? Now, in terms of the app and the overall concept, yes, we have. So in the app, we have another insight from the research was to have really good content, right? So explaining the symptoms, having access to, again, professional healthcare providers that can give advice around menopause and the symptoms of menopause. And then also a way of actually tracking progesterone levels through a saliva test, right? So we identified a diagnostic that could help us or help women track their progesterone levels and find out where they are in the menopause cycle, basically. And all of that is combined through that platform that you see on the screen there.
So I'm really looking forward to the launch on Monday, because I think it will be very exciting, obviously, for Hologram, but also for women, I suppose, mainly in America again.
So, yeah, no, there's a
Sorry, we'll send a few kids around for the ones that came into the room.
So there is a definite theme here, but so yes, our starting market is always the US, and it is always also our intention to ultimately spread into other markets.
Yeah.
So we have already also in Asia Pacific have some preliminary conversations with DSM customers around phenology. So it will also come to other markets over time.
Okay, great. So James, there's a few questions.
Sure.
And Ankur and from Thailand, I'm not going to try to read the name because I will pronounce it wrongly. But there's a question about generally, how can DSM in its core business benefit from maybe the data set that you're gaining, is especially around AmpLD, but also generally, do we have statistic record of the improvement of nutrition level and consumer health? And can we use this to enhance our selling activities of solutions? Is this something? I remember that you were the linchpin between the DSM actually business and Hologram. Talk to us about.
No, it's a great question, and that is exactly one of the key intentions is to use the Hologram experience. You've got to remember, Hologram is a kind of a brand incubator. We go out, we launch these concepts, and one of the key objectives is to gather data, and then to take that experience back to DSM customers. And in fact, what we're doing in the US a lot at the moment is sharing develop and the data I talked about. We're showing that as a case study.
Yeah,
you can use that as a case study to promote, in this case, AmpLD, right? And so
so really, when we go to customers and we present AmpLD and they say, but we don't know, we're not sure, who else is doing that? Have you ever seen it on the market? That's really useful too.
Absolutely.
To be able to say, there is this company developed, they're there, this is how they do it, this is one example.
100%. It's a great case study, and I can help you, right? I can help you put that case study together and help you present it to your customers. Very often, back in the day, before Hologram, when I was trying to sell, and many of us were trying to sell new ingredients, that's the question that always came from customers. How do we know it's going to work? How do we know the consumers like it? Well, now we actually have data that we can use in those case studies to help convince our customers to also adopt those new ingredients.
Yeah. So there is another question here about nowadays there are more companies, it's on the diagnostic part, right? Nowadays there are more companies using questionnaires to ascertain the type of nutrition one needs, making it customized. Do you see these as competitors, and will you also go in that direction?
Yeah, it's another great question. So we don't see them as competitors. We really see them as partners, and it actually DSM has a relationship already with a company called VioCare that are a leader in clinically validated food frequency questionnaires.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So we really have the opportunity to use these as a resource for DSM projects, right? So no, they're not competitors. They really are partners that we can use to then go to our customers to develop concepts around those food frequency.
And that's important because, you know, my experience is that often when you answer these questionnaires, you try to, you know, put yourself in a good light, right? And it says, how often do you eat sugar? And you go, not so often. You know, how many glasses of wine you drink in the evening? You know, one every other day when you actually have half a bottle, you know. So I think that's important. There's another really interesting question here from Alota, also on the diagnostic. How do you measure women's health and the benefit of the supplement?
Oh, sure.
What's exactly happening there?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways. The first is the saliva test at home. So that enables you to track your progesterone levels.
Okay.
And then the coach in the app will explain to you, will help you understand what that means. So where are you? Are you in early menopause or in the middle of menopause? And then based on that, give you really recommendations for your health. That's one way. The other way is, of course, as women take the product basket, they will be in contact with their coaches and reporting back on how the products are working.
Yeah.
Right. So we can get immediate feedback from people on how the products are working for them.
Yeah. And then there's another question also around, you know, the diagnostic really. And this is a question about, besides Ampli-D, which other products are you aware of at DSM where you can apply the same self-test kit?
Oh, sure.
And you know, maybe you can also build this a little bit on personal care. Is it also an idea of using kits for personal care to expand it?
Yeah, so for sure. The company that we work with on the blood testing kit, they actually also offer an omega-3 analysis and a vitamin B12, right? They are also working on other vitamins that will come through over time. So already you've got, you know, 3 or 4 vitamins that you can already measure in a in-home blood test. In terms of personal care, yes, we've looked at you can measure skin elasticity, skin dryness. There are also programs that enable you to sort of assess the health of your skin, and we've looked at those also in the case of phenology. That would be something, you know, that would be a future development for phenology, kind of next generation innovation for phenology in this case.
And so we said at the beginning that precision nutrition, this is more of a animal nutrition area. So that's not exactly part of Hologram, but there's lots of work that's being done by animal nutrition colleagues.
Exactly.
In how to digitalize the animal feed so precisely that it matches the requirements of the different animals and enables their growth. But the other area that I wanted to go to is, you know, there's lots of additivation in food and beverage as well.
Yep.
So our third business group. And in food and beverage, there's also all these ready-made meals that have a specific calorie, a specific nutrition profile, etc. Is this something you're also thinking of becoming active in?
Yeah, 100%. So, you know, I think it would be too narrow to always only think about supplements. Yeah. And some of these concepts that we'll be developing will really benefit from a more kind of a food and beverage type of product.
Yeah.
A good example is sports performance, which we've started the design work on sports performance, focusing on endurance. And in that world, some kind of...
Sorry, can you qualify endurance? So
yeah,
I can run an hour instead of half an hour?
Exactly. So
is it exactly?
An endurance sport would be like cycling or running, where you're doing the activity for more than an hour, right?
Yeah.
So classic example would be a half marathon or a 10K run or a 50-kilometer bike ride. Those would all be considered endurance events.
Okay.
And there are a lot of nutritional interventions that can be done to help people improve their performance on that. So it's all about different types of carbohydrate. It's all about different types of protein, also some micronutrients. And the best way to deliver these is maybe not so much a supplement, but more some kind of shake.
Ready to drink.
A hydration beverage or a protein shake, and those can be customized. So definitely there's a food and beverage angle there. Also protein bars as well. So that's very much more in that direction. Food and beverage.
So is this something, we have a cycling team at DSM, Team DSM, and I'm reading regularly, they're doing quite well.
They are doing well, yes.
So and we are providing them with nutritional advice and nutritional components. So is this something that you'll be able to link up?
Yeah, so we're already collaborating with Team DSM together with Hologram, and actually even before, Team DSM have been using sort of diagnostic kits to track vitamin D levels and omega-3 and other parameters. So the answer is yes, we're working pretty closely with them on. And our sports performance, so endurance, cycling is the perfect example. We will be sort of trialing our sports performance concept, hopefully with Team DSM at some stage as well.
I mean, that's very exciting. I'm just into week 2 of a 5-week course on Peloton bike. We use this bike at home, and to increase my power zone level, if you want, or my output. And it would be fantastic to have a product that would add to the training, that it would not just be me grinding 60 minutes a day, but also adding some products to it.
Yeah, there are products that will improve that.
So there's a few other questions, and please keep them coming. Moving on another type of question, I think there was a question from Jane somewhere. Yeah, and she says, "Hi James, what would be critical success factors for Hologram Sciences?" So. What is success for Hologram? What does it actually mean? What happens once you have put all these things on the road?
Thanks, Jane. It's a great question. It's also an opportunity to explain a little bit about the business model for Hologram Sciences within DSM. I mentioned at the beginning, it's really see ourselves as a brand incubator for personalized nutrition. And success would be that we go to a DSM customer and the DSM customer licenses, right, the total concept, right?
Okay.
The total concept. So we would negotiate a long-term license with a DSM customer who's a brand owner, and they would, for instance, take the developed concept, which would mean they would get rights to use the app, the underlying scientific data, the supplements, which would be through MRS, right, through DSM MRS. And the diagnostic kit, right? And that's really the aim is to start off these concepts and then ultimately make them available to DSM customers, right? And then Hologram and DSM will make money on that through the licensing fees and through the MRS solution.
So this is a little bit in my simple mind, right? We, as DSM, we have ingredients, we have premix. Then we have market-ready solution, and now we have the super enhanced and advanced market-ready solution with a full package of clinical, marketing, etc.
It's that really every stage along that value chain. As DSM now collectively, we can go and say we can really offer you from the ingredient all the way to a fully fledged, fully tested concept solution. Right, end to end.
So you could imagine Kim Kardashian come to you and say, I have these tens of millions of people on my Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Or on Twitter, if it still exists. Hi, Elon. And say, hey, DSM, can you make something for me that I want to put into my platform for my users?
Yes.
That's the sort of
idea, right? I think that also would be a great measure of success. It's also about identifying some new channels, right? That would be a really exciting new channel for DSM and Hologram where we're not playing today. And I think that this approach gives us that opportunity, for sure.
And I think, what's super interesting in this as well is in Asia Pacific, the digitalization is much faster than actually in the US, right? And we all know about WeChat in China, for example, but if you look just at Indonesia, there are very powerful influencers in Indonesia, and there's 270 million people in Indonesia alone. And I think we sometimes, when we live here in Asia Pacific, we forget what makes us in Asia so strong and so different and more advanced, actually, to be very transparent here than the rest of the world.
Yeah, totally.
And so I think what you're doing, James, I can only encourage you. I'm super happy that you're here in Singapore and you're going to Australia, but please think of us.
Yeah, definitely will.
We need your solutions here.
Absolutely, and please take me to your markets. Be super. It's what I love doing the most, is talking to customers and presenting concepts to customers.
So we have about another 15 minutes or so, and maybe we would take a few questions from. I have one more questions here on the screen. And please feel free to add questions, but maybe there's some questions in the audience. You've been all listening very intently. So any questions for James?
A question on phenology.
Yep.
So with menopause, I think there is usually a stereotype or a stigma against talking about it.
Yes.
It's associated to reaching a certain age, etc., physical decline.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the consumer engagement to increase adoption.
Yeah, it's a really great question, and that's exactly. It's also one of the reasons that we chose it. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I think there's also an opportunity there for a solution. And so our marketing team at Hologram, they actually have a background in consumer engagement. So our chief marketing officer comes from Facebook and Instagram. And we have already started working with influencers in the US, with influencers through social media, through certain consumer-facing magazines, for example, where we're able to really reach the target audience, right? And so we'll have some interviews coming out in that consumer press that already has really good penetration in the target audience. So there's a very strong focus on the sort of social communication around it. Yeah.
So it's also,
we'll share examples of those articles. Yeah.
But this is also why I really liked that you decided to approach menopause, because it's also a contribution to society and to debunk, the myths of we don't talk about this. This is some sort of taboo subject. Actually, you bring it out there and say everybody at every phase of their lives deserves to be looked after, deserves to have the right product, the right support. And I think this is also a great message, rather than always do the same thing that everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And we are seeing in the US, especially, a lot of startups in the space of menopause. So there is increasing activity, and it's becoming less of a taboo. The difference being that a lot of those other startups, they kind of focus on one thing, maybe some kind of new product or some kind of behavioral advice. But so far, we think there's nobody that's offering that total solution that we're offering.
Yeah.
Follow-up question. What about menopause for men, like andropause?
Yeah. I think, speaking from personal experience, I think it is a thing. So, yeah, I don't think we'll restrict ourselves to women's health. I think we're also in that basket of women's health. We are also thinking about concepts for men, or concepts for two people together, and we'll expand into those as well. So it's not on the immediate horizon, but it's definitely on our radar.
Yeah, I'm certainly interested in the saffron. If it helps, I also want to have that. Any other questions in the room? Yeah,
James,
Adrian.
Question on the plans for aging, because I think the elderly is
Yes.
a very nice group that will benefit from personalized nutrition as they age, you know, the chronic issues and all that start to have. How would personalized nutrition cater to their needs?
So maybe we just repeat the question to make sure that everyone has heard it. So, oh, you have a microphone close to you, I can see. So the question is, what's the plan for aging? And I just want to add that contrary to what other people think of about Asia, Asia is not just a large amount of very young people, you know, malnourished. It's I think it's a really
bit of a misconception.
It's a very bad way of looking at Asia. And for example, there's data about Thailand that the population in Thailand is aging very rapidly. And so it's not just, you know, talking about China where you have to look after your parents and you're the single kid, but it's across Southeast Asia as well.
Absolutely.
So
great question on aging. And actually, when we speak to customers, to DSM customers about hologram and personalized nutrition, and when we show them this roadmap, 9 times out of 10, they want to do something in healthy aging, right? So it's on everybody's radar. So we're in very early stages on healthy aging, and the thing with healthy aging is it can be many different things, right? It could be mobility, it can be cognition, and so where we are right now is we're doing that research to understand what is the entry point, as we call it, for healthy aging. Should we be focusing on cognition, sarcopenia? There are many things that we could address. So we're early stages on that, and once we get going, it'll be fast. So still this year, we're hoping to launch the first concept towards the end of the year.
Yeah. There's a company in America that I'm following called Elysium.
Okay.
They're advised by Harvard Business School.
Right.
And they have some really interesting, very innovative ingredient into brain health.
Okay.
Nicotinamide, NAD plus, these sort of things, you know, the whole story of how do you maintain the mitochondria to work. And is this something you're looking at as well?
Very much on our radar,
Okay.
And if I had to bet, I think, you know, brain health cognition would be a likely entry point. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a very strong contender.
That would be great, because in brain health, often the ingredients that are proposed as part of the solutions on the market, you only half sure that they actually mean it, right? So this is what I also like about Hologram being part of DSM. It's really scientifically founded. It's research. You know, you're paying lots of attention on the clinical studies.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so then we have a few questions here online. Maybe I take the question from Ray. Ray's looking after MRS in Asia, and he's saying, welcome to Singapore. Is there any customer success story that you can share with the region? How long is the journey from introduction of the concept to launch? This is something that's close to Ray's heart, because he's trying to speed up the process.
So speed was one of the main reasons that we decided to go with a sort of dedicated entity. So if I look at now from a Hologram Sciences perspective, we developed, designed, programmed, launched, develop in 81 days, right? So that includes programming the app, doing the formulations, doing all the packaging, the claims, the science dossier, everything. Which is the fastest I've ever seen it. And when we talk to our customers, they also see that as very, very fast. Very few of our big customers could do it that quickly. So that's kind of a differentiator that we're offering. Now the trick is how do we convert that into DSM speed and into the speed of our customers as well.
And perhaps, James, you can say more on a conceptual level, if you want. What were the learnings of you doing that in 81 days at Hologram? What did you have in place, or what ways of working did you discover enabled you to do that we could use in our mainline businesses because that could be valid in animal, in F&B, in human, right?
So a couple of things that immediately spring to my mind. One is fast decision making.
Yeah.
So obviously Hologram, particularly at that time, I think there was only 15 of us in the company. So when there's only 15 of you working on a project, you can make decisions on a daily basis, right? So that was a key factor for the speed was decision making. The other thing, to be honest, was focus. So for 81 days, we were only doing develop. So we literally, you know, they have a sprint way of working, daily scrums, which are like 10-minute stand-up meetings every single day, right? Every single day talking to the contract manufacturers. So I guess it's that focus and dedication and like single-minded approach to that concept for 81 days.
Yeah. So I really like the fast decision making. Yeah. So make decisions rather than think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then be really focused and very narrow, so that within that narrow scope you can move fast. And then these 5 minutes a day. So it's like your triple D is your triple F, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Fast, focus, 5 minutes a day, kind of recipe. I think this is something that we certainly can use in the way we work as well. Very good. So then kind of another question that opens the floor a little bit, and maybe that's what you want to use to conclude and maybe give us your views on what's the future overall of personalized nutrition and personalization, perhaps, across the world. This question is about what other concept for beauty, for weight loss, or for diabetes, what's on the horizon? So what's the horizon for Hologram? What's the horizon for personalized nutrition?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think the first thing to refer to is our roadmap. That's here you see the immediate horizon until the end of the year. So sports performance coming with an endurance concept. Healthy aging could quite likely be brain. After that, we will be working on a medical nutrition concept, right? Again, a very rich area to look at, because it's already quite well established for the diagnostic side. So in medical nutrition, diagnostics is already quite well established. So medical nutrition, and then beyond that, we are actually looking at things like pet nutrition.
Okay.
Right. So really branching out, and then most likely we will start to also come back to add new entry points to our existing umbrella. Right. So if you think about women's health, a natural next step could be maternal nutrition, or even adolescence, right? Sports performance, many different things within sports performance. So I guess I want to say we've got a huge potential funnel. Our challenge as Hologram Science is still a very small team, is to sort of try to remain focused. So we try to plan our roadmap a year and a half in advance, right? But the immediate future, healthy aging, and then medical nutrition.
And so, James, this is very much Hologram.
This is Hologram, right?
So exactly. What about personalization generally? What's your view on this?
So I think personalization generally, I think one of the things we learn is that as companies started to work on this, people became perhaps a bit too focused on the end game, almost too ambitious, and going into sort of the area of an N=1 product, and how do you scale that? What we found is, I think for personalized nutrition to really pick up, is to start it with small steps, right? Develop one ingredient, one test, one digital app, and then build it from there, right? So I think we're step by step going into a more and more personalized experience. I think if we say in a year, 2 or 5 years from now, we will be at the stage where people are continuously tracking their nutritional status, right? As those technologies become more and more available. And when those technologies are available, that will also release the opportunity for fully customized products, right? And if I had to guess, I would say in 5 years from now, I think very few people will be taking standard multivitamins. I think in 5 years from now, most people would have started to use some kind of personalized product.
Or personally advised.
Or personally advised product, some kind of personalized nutritional experience.
Well, James, the time is up. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for dropping
That's
by.
great. Yeah, no, pleasure. It's great,
Yeah.
great idea.
Really great to have you. And I understand it's also a welcome back.
Yes, yeah, very much.
So welcome back. I hope you have a great weekend, that you can rest a bit, and a safe onward journey to Australia. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone on the line, and thank you everyone in the room.
Thank you. Good. Good. Done these before.